Yo, hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt. And I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grr, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. Hi. I said hi to all my YouTubers out there. If you like what you hear and if you like what you see, just click that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Just click it. And look, I knows you loves me. I know you do. So leave me some likes. Also to give me some feedback because I always want to know what you're thinking about the show. Hey, that rhymes. Anywho, today's Wyatt shines a spotlight on Eddie S. Pierce Jr., y'all. He's the founder of Rainbow Room Publishing, and he's making some really, really big waves in the LGBTQ plus literary world. So I say, let's find out how he does that. I. So, without further ado, Wyatt, I said Wyatt, welcomes Mr. Eddie S. Pierce Jr., an author and the inventive founder of Rainbow Room Publishing. Talk at me, my brother. How the hell are you?
Man, I'm doing good. Anytime we get together, whether it's a text, an email, whatever, you lift the spirits, brother. You do. You always do.
Well, I roll like that, my brother. I roll like that. Anyway, thank you, my friend, for pulling up to the mic on Wyatt. It's good to have you here. And first of all, man, I've got to give you some big props, kudos, and congratulations on your new book. It's titled From a Black Perspective, The Homeland. It's an anthology that showcases poignant and powerful and diverse Black voices. For now, we're going to get into it really in depth later, but for now, give us your 25-word or less elevator pitch. And here's a warning, my brother, I'm going to be counting, so you better keep it in 25 words or less.
That was one. It is the concluding volume of a series of amazing works by a variety of Black authors, telling various stories from various points of view. It's a great book. You want to get it.
I like that. I don't think you went over 25 words. Good. Let me clap. All right.
You're being grateful. I know I borrowed a few.
That's all right. That's okay. No problem at all. But you know, it is remarkable. It's something I think a little different in the marketplace. So question for you, Eddie, what was the genesis of From a Black Perspective, The Homeland? What compelled you to publish such a diverse collection of talent?
Well, to be quite honest, it's as I stated, it's the third and concluding volume of the series. So in that sense, it goes back to what started the whole process. But it initially was the idea that I wanted to work with a number of authors, and I thought about doing a writing contest. Nobody applied. And God and I were talking, and he said, "Hey, you just want to fill a book, some people." And that turned into this awesome ongoing reunion with friends from high school, college, churches, various spaces in the community. Anyone that ever had a conversation with me that briefly mentioned that they wrote something was somebody I was after. But when I looked at how many people I wanted to work with, it expanded from 1 into 3.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And I'm so glad you did it. We're going to really delve into it more later. But first, let's sashay through the quarters of time because my audience here, Wyatt, I said Wyatt, we're nosy like that. We like to get all up inside your business. So You ready?
Well, I brought the tea.
Yes, you did.
And I
So,
promise that's all it is.
oh, but hey, if you got something else in it, that's all right. Come on.
Not today.
Okay, so Eddie, where were you born and raised?
Born and raised, as I love to say proudly, the west side of Chicago.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, wonderful. Okay, now I like to ask my special guest the following question. Number one, I get a tickle out of it. And number two, it can give us an idea or a window into who you are as an adult today. So my question is, what was Eddie like as a little boy, a little nipper? Give us like three characteristics, qualities, attributes that best describe you.
Quiet, introverted. What's the last one? Creative.
Man, look, I can't quiet you quiet. I don't get that.
Well,
I
you
don't
said
get
what
that
makes me who I am
vibe.
today, right? You
Yeah.
said what makes me what I am today. That's a
Yeah.
longer story.
Oh.
But
Oh.
that's it.
Oh. Okay. Cool.
I mean, I can even say it real quick. It's not that big of a deal. Just that the older I got as a black man, as a black gay man, as a Christian man, I had to learn how to be my own advocate.
Right.
That kind of, even though the introvert behavior is still there, that quiet, it exists. But yeah, not when it's important, not anymore. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, let us fast forward. I believe you earned a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing from Chicago State University.
Correct.
How was the college university experience for you, and how did it shape you into the person that you are today?
Well, doing my best to keep everything short, so I'm going to stay in that writer lens unless you ask me something else. That was where I really saw my talent. That's where, as I love to say in a lot of instances, my experience, and I think this is the ideal experience for anyone who goes on from anything from high school, whether it's professional training, 2-year, 4-year college. Ideally, you at that point have kind of identified some talents, and all of those other things, other levels are meant to refine it even more. So that's what I got from the undergrad experience as it relates to me being a writer, as a publisher, just kind of even learning the industry in a lot of different respects, but primarily focused on the craft.
Got it. Okay. So that was really a very useful experience for you. Okay. Okay. And I believe that sometime after that, you discovered that you were HIV positive, and then you were diagnosed with clinical depression. So tell us about that.
So just for context, the diagnosis for clinical depression was prior, that I believe was maybe mid high school.
Right.
College, mid college year. Basically, the depression was a lot of internalizing of things. Some of it, and we talk about what makes me now. Some of it I knew at the time was related to a conflict of being Christian and being a gay man.
Right.
Then you add on top of that being black. Then you add on top of that all the other things, frat boy, and all of that. And so it turned to a suicide attempt. One of 3 over the course of my life. Thankfully, the last one has been over 20 years ago. God and I made a contract. We're done with that. But that was somewhere up in there when I guess this is why the context is important. When I learned my HIV status, granted, I was in between episode 2 and 3, but it was not one that really took me down to the point that it could have. Let's put it that way. There was a lot of support, but more importantly, by that time, I learned to advocate for myself. So yeah, through all of that, it turned into doing a lot of holistic healing and addressing all of that. And that's where I learned that, this doesn't have anything really to do with me being black and gay, although it had been a conflict. It was not the root problem when it came to dealing with the depression. So with that, I also learned better coping mechanisms, actually did the therapy, actually became very conscious about keeping myself in positive and healing spaces.
Mm-hmm. Well, Eddie, thank you for sharing that, because I'm no stranger to depression. And so many of us Black men, particularly Black gay, same gender loving men, experience depression. And what we do is we don't deal with it. We sweep it under the rug, and we don't deal with it. And then when you're trying to reconcile being Christian and same gender loving and gay, that's difficult. So how did you manage to reconcile those two things? How did you navigate that?
It's so interesting that I can honestly say that I came up in a very conservative Baptist church environment. Pretty much the whole family of that home church were related by blood or by marriage, but it's like 300 people on the road. But it was, the typical space that you kind of expect to hear, to varying degrees, the fire and brimstone. And so the ironic thing was that sitting under those ministers, they were the ones that taught me. And to this day, we're such great, great people, despite our differences on that subject. We're very close, but they were the ones that taught me, you don't listen to just what I say up here in this pulpit. You, according to this Bible, are supposed to go home. You're supposed to read it yourself. You're supposed to consult God when you read it. And after you've done that, here's the standing open invitation. If you find something that disagrees with what I say up here, come on in this office. And it was a commonly known thing that if you did that, first thing that he would do would reach back. They know who I'm talking about just by the way I'm describing it, but he would reach back, pull out the Bible, and that was what we were going to base our conversation on. He and I had one of those conversations, but we were both very much of the mind that we're going to disagree without being disagreeable. I love you. You love me. That conversation was over 20 years ago. To this day, if I step up in that church, if I see that man on the street, we still going to love each other. We still going to hug each other. And he has on several occasions, very publicly from the pulpit, said, our son is back. I know he's doing a whole lot of stuff and he got a lot of titles, but that's still our Eddie. And so for me, it was largely God working through other people, teaching me to open my mouth. But then in a lot of instances, very private conversations. And I'll leave it with this. This is not something I imagined. I was driving to work one day and I'm listening to whatever I was listening to that morning. And I will say it's not always gospel music, but at the same time, I've gotten great messages from God, from Jay-Z of all people. It's about the vessel. I mean, not about the vessel, it's about the message. But I remembered that while I was driving, I had this sensation of a beam of light, but inside of me. And it was like scanning me.
Wow.
And the longer it took, I kind of was getting what was happening, that it was searching for flaws and darkness. And God was showing and telling me, there is not a thing wrong with you. I'm echoing my own words. You're made in my image. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that was from there. It was like, 10 toes down. I'm good on that. We won't ever have to have this debate ever again.
Wow. Well, you know what, Eddie, on a lighter note, I'll say, hallelujahs, hallelujahs, hallelujahs. Yes, God, hallelujah.
Look, that's a note that can be serious, but still be lighter. So I feel you on that.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Now, you've said that you found a safe haven through your writing. Expound on that.
Well, happy accident, some would say, divine orders, I would say. The idea of what to do with myself after undergrad, kind of going back to being a kid, but trying to keep it short. Everybody saw that I could write. Everybody would encourage my writing, but then it would turn into, the logical, well, what are you going to do with your talent? Because you got to be grown and make money and da, 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 da. Mm-hmm. And everybody looked at the more commonly known routes and said, oh, you're either going to be a journalist, or a teacher?
Right.
To which I replied, nope, I hate both of those.
No.
Fast forward, I've been teaching online for 15 years. I actually love it.
Great.
Aspects of it. And journalism, that more so has come out of things in the form of social media posts, some of which you've seen most recently.
Yeah.
But having worked with a few publications here and there where I was able to do articles or opinion pieces. Some of those, unfortunately, never got published themselves. I still have them. Y'all will see them soon. So I looked at all of that and still not entirely knowing what I want to do. I had a career going, working in higher ed at that point, not as a teacher.
Okay.
Shouts out to Trio for anybody that's familiar, Upper Bound and all of us. But I was doing that and I wanted to go back for my master's. It was just a decision, honestly. I wanted my master's. I just wanted it. And it took me a while to figure out what I wanted it in, where I was going to go. And ultimately, I had to write a certain number of pages to get into grad school. 40 pages, if I remember correctly. Backing up really quick, I was on a plane one day. This goes to being that creative youth. Whenever we were on a road trip, I always had to have something to do. And sometimes I had little gadgets, little handheld games, but sometimes it was a pad and a pen. So this particular day on this particular flight for a job, I started the 20 pages that made me look when I needed to do that application and say, oh, I'm halfway there. Bitch, you better get on this 20, get on in this program. But also at that point, I was made aware that I had to have 100 pages of prose.
Oh.
To which I said, well, you're going to have 40 by the time you start, and it's going to take 2 years. You can write another 60 pages. That became my first novel. It wasn't intended to be my first novel. It was supposed to be simply my creative thesis to complete the program. But the process of doing all that introspection, writing about myself, writing about the trials and temptations and the triumphs and all of it, it helped me to look back, and I said, this will be great for somebody else. And off we go to the races with, now what do we do to publish it, kind of thing.
And then that's when you created Rainbow Room Publishing, I take it.
So yeah, the process a little longer than that, but probably another year or two. I think it was about 2 more years after completing my grad program. But long and short of it was that was the first book. I did use what some people may be familiar with, a self-publishing service. Some similar services that Rainbow Room Publishing provides. We'll talk about it later. But when the process was done, once again, God and I talking. And he said to me, you published that book. You're the publisher. And I'm thinking, well, I paid the people. And he was like, what does a publisher do? A publisher pays for everything. A publisher orchestrates everything. Right. You published that book.
Absolutely.
Now you need a company name. The name of the story about the name comes a little with more detail. But when the time came to name it, there was no other name. It was Rainbow Room Publishing. Boom, that was it. I didn't have to think about it past 5 seconds. There was no other second. Nothing. But the company and the book, the company was launched the night that the book was released, in November the 12th, my actual birthday, 2011. And so since I was launching the book or releasing the book, it made sense that the company would be launched at the same time.
Oh, well, happy soon to be birthday, right?
Thank you, sir.
Great. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now here we go. Let's glide into, from a Black perspective, the Homeland, your new release. Now, first, though, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to tell the audience that this is volume 3 in your From a Black Perspective series. Volume 1 is titled, From a Black Perspective, The Blood. That was released in 2021. Then there was volume 2, From a Black Perspective, The People, and that was released just last year. Ambitious moves, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what I want to do now, let's build on your elevator pitch. Like, give us the synopsis. Tell us what you want us to know about From a Black Perspective, the Homeland.
The Homeland looking at the content, looking strictly at the stories.
Okay.
Very similar to what was done with the prior two volumes in much as the way I described earlier. You're looking at a variety of Black authors, be they new, established, published, unpublished. There is the only unifying theme, aside from us all being Black authors, is that we each tell something from our perspective.
Okay.
And so it turns into 7 pieces, including one from me, my return back to my first love of writing science fiction.
Yeah.
Then we have a number that about different types of romantic relationships. Really good stories there. Then we have some surreal things going on and some others, but all of them are crowns in jewels in the crown. But one of the ones that shines a little brighter in some people's eyes is a series of articles, journalist articles done at the very end by our very own Dr. Tamara Hill, in which she talks about how the current female hip hop stars in the form of Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and Megan Thee Stallion are seizing and taking over that narrative of females in hip hop, how they're flipping it on its head. So we start with me, which is totally fiction. We go down through some things, or actually science fiction, and then we go down through some things that are more reality based, and we drive it home with something that's really, really insightful, very informative. So you get my top three. You get something educational, inspirational, and entertaining. All from Black voices.
Very powerful Black voices, and the authors, the writers are eclectic and they are erudite.
Yes.
Yes, they is. Yes, they is.
Yes, they is. Yes, they is.
Yes, they is.
One of many reasons I love to work with them.
There you go. Okay, do you want my review? Well, if you don't want my review, I won't tell you.
I don't know. That was my hands open, like, here, give me.
I was.
Tell me something.
I wanted your voice to activate me. Okay.
Okay.
No.
Go, Wyatt, go.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna read it because I want to get it right. From a Black perspective, The Homeland is a significant anthology that celebrates the diversity within the Black literary community. This volume presents a sterling showcase of inventive, daring, and sublime Black voices that explore various corners of the human experience. These eclectic and emotion-laden stories connect naturally but can stand alone. From a Black perspective, The Homeland is a captivating, thought-provoking, and absorbing work, which means it's a must read. So, did you like that?
I love that. I love that. And I will admit, it's easy for me to receive. It can be hard to. Christianity, bad theology can teach you to be humble to a fault. I accept that so much easier because I know that a large part of that is not even me. It's the amazing people that I work with. And yes, thank you. Thank you on behalf of them. Thank you. And we're definitely going to look at ways where they can tell you thank you in person.
Oh, okay. I love it. But no, in all seriousness, man, you did an excellent job. This is a book that everybody needs to read. It tells the different tales of the human condition, and very well written, very heartfelt. Get this book. Anyway.
Tell them again.
Get this book. And we'll tell you how to get it a little bit later, but get this book. Anyway, let's move on we're going to come back to the book, but let's move on for right now to your publishing house, Rainbow Room Publishing, or RRP, the acronym. What's its primary mission, and what has its impact been on the LGBTQ plus community?
Well, man, you hit me with some loaded questions and then asked me to keep it brief. The primary mission, Initially, it was a vehicle to get my own work out, just being very realistic and knowing what I know about the industry back then. That, the opportunities, particularly for people of color, then you add to that whether or not we are part of another group, including LGBTQIA plus, that it will be that much harder to get your work out. And so once my work was done and I saw that I got it done, I said, wow, I could easily see me doing this for somebody else. I wasn't ready at that time. It was about maybe 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Not even just in the sense of being ready in terms of ambition, but actually being prepared, knowing what I was doing.
Right.
And so it has become this space where I am doing a couple of things. I always like to describe it as a hybrid of the traditional publishing house with that old school model of, hey, you're out there, we happen to see your work and we just want to buy it and we want to cover everything and that sort of thing. And a publishing service where you do come in and you do make some contributions to your aims to be published. Primarily, yes, we do look at financial, but in a lot of instances, I see that, say, for instance, if you were to come to me, I would say, well, you don't need any help with promotion. You got that covered. If you got a new book, maybe, I'm always looking at what's the most affordable and on rare occasions, what we can barter service wise.
Right.
So looking at making it more affordable, looking at much like the series itself, having different passion projects that are targeted directly at those particular authors. As I've stated before, there is the restrictions, very succinct list. I'm not going to deal with any foolishness. I'm not dealing with any negativity. I am not publishing anything defamatory. I am not publishing hate speech. You get past all of that, which in my opinion is pretty easy. Come on in, come talk to me, fill out the contact form. We'll see what goes from there. And as a result of that, much like I've learned before, we're not less than because we happen to be Black or brown or because we happen to be the LGBTQIA, but we are the underserved, the underrepresented, those whose voices have been diminished more. And so someone once taught me that if you think of them in correlation with the idea of the least of these, as the Bible kind of uses that language, if we take care of the least of us, those with the most struggle, you've taken care of everybody. So where it has been a happy coincidence that everyone so far that I work with has either been Black or brown or been a member of the LGBTQIA plus society. And please know there's so many others. I'm talking to somebody from Britain right now that wants to do 3 books.
All right.
But, and I'm talking about a Caucasian person from Britain. So I'm just saying that is not a barrier for us. But when I look at it, the model from that angle, we're ready to serve everybody. If we're ready to serve the quote unquote least of us, we're ready to serve everybody. And so that's kind of what the dream has been. I have said it on several occasions, and it's a motto I need to finally put in print, that we're not building a brand, we're building an institution.
I like that. Say that again, please.
Rainbow Room Publishing, LLC, is not building a brand. We are building an institution.
Ooh, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I like that. Okay. What advice do you have for aspiring and already published authors, Eddie, particularly with marketing and promotion and social media? Before you answer that question, let me say that you are really very, very good at social media. And really, you're very...
It's exhausting, but okay, yes.
It is. Particularly when you do it right. Your stuff is substantive, it's clever, it's engaging, and it's consistent, because the consistency is so important.
Yeah.
Because people have such short attention spans. But anyway, please answer the question about, the marketing, promotion, what advice you would have for us authors.
This is not by all means a plug for Rainbow Room Publishing, but my first piece of advice is get a professional. If there was a professional that I could afford to pay right now, yesterday, my life would be so different. I do get a lot out of it because it is an art form. And so I do
Oh, yeah.
like to do it, but I also do it out of necessity currently. So if there's a professional out there within your range of finances, definitely check their credentials, ask them who else have they worked with, look at some real examples. AI and Skynet is real. There's some fake stuff out there. You need to confirm who you're working with. But yeah, if you can turn that over to somebody else, do it. But if you cannot, much like me in different seasons, well, then you better figure something out. The main thing I would say beyond that, barring any follow-up, is be as creative as you were with making that book. Be as creative as you were with that. Be as open to possibilities. The things that you kind of just praised me on, honestly, I would give credit to my partner who once said to me a couple of years ago, he said, you need to show them you having fun in this process. Show them you interacting with the product.
He's right.
And you look at commercials on TV and somebody's getting the Vidal Sassoon treatment. Ain't she smiling? I mean, all 32, 34 teeth. So if the product is good, the people should be happy. That should be on display.
Well, your partner is absolutely correct. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You have to, when you're a writer and author, you really have to have fun with this, because if you don't, it'll wear you down.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. My friend, you also produce and host RRP Live, which is Rainbow Room Publishing Live. Give us the 411 on that.
So gonna be fair, it started with me, around the same time that the book was released. Just everything that I could to market the company. So a lot of ads, but then over time, as some of that introverted stuff, I could put it aside. There were different performances. You'll see clips to interviews such as this. Then of course, when I got to working with other authors, you would see material related to them. So some of their ads, some of their interviews, that sort of thing. And then a few years back, I think it was in the midst of working on From a Black Perspective, The Blood, that I said, okay, well, it's a streaming event, a live streaming event. And so it was going to be on YouTube. I was like, well, you're kind of already doing it now. And it's good practice for that particular purpose. And so it turned into me trying to do the conventional podcast, but the time was just, for me, was just not there. And like I said, some of that introverted stuff, I can't picture me on a screen every week. It's just, the thought of it for me is exhausting. It's not my wheelhouse. I would rather be your producer. I'd rather be behind the screen, punching up your buttons. That's where my jam is. But people like this mug, and I need a front man, and I don't have no money to pay one. So here we are. So it turned into just doing things more seasonally, turned into doing interviews as I had clients, or turned into, we want to do a Pride edition for the summer, which we did a couple of years back. It turned into, was in the midst of COVID, wanting to do a poetry set and streaming situation for National Poetry Month. So we have what I've named Save Some for the Poets. So it's rather than, I would say it's a variety show. That's probably the best way to put it. A variety show. There are goofy videos of me dancing. There are serious interviews. There are letters to a certain president-elect. There is a lot of what I call, and those of us from Chicago would call, the music of love and inspiration with Jackie Hasselrig. It was syndicated, so some of y'all may have heard her, but WGCI, it was the gospel music that we know, and coupled with Bible verses. And the inspiration I found that morning and was led to give, because some other guy says, keep for yourself at least for a season, but the things that he said, okay, go ahead and share that ends up on there too. So it's a lot of stuff, but for our purposes, you're looking probably for the interviews and the streaming events, the reading events, the performances, that sort of thing. But they're all in convenient playlists.
Well, look, I'm proud to announce, man, that I'm going to be on RRP Live talking about Nothing Can Tear Us Apart, Shattered, in my
Let me tell you something.
Right. Let me tell you something.
I can't wait for that conversation.
I'm going to be on RRP Live soon talking about Shattered and talking about the upcoming sequel to Shattered, which is going to drop next year. So,
Whoa.
So tell us about that.
Is that part 4?
One, two. Yeah, part 4.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to this conversation because I have some questions for you.
Just make sure I can answer those questions. I might not be able to answer them questions, because you're a hell of a writer, so I don't know what I'm going to be walking into when you ask me these questions.
They're going to think somebody paid somebody by the time they look at this, because everything you throw at me is a mirror. I'm throwing it back at you. I'm reading your stuff like I literally said to somebody. I was like, man, if I knew half these people, including Wyatt, when I started writing, I probably wouldn't have never done it. Or it would have taken me that much longer to get over being intimidated. Because, brother, you can write. You can write. Your people jump off the page in my face. And some of them are ready to, but, yeah.
And they jump in and out of the bed, too.
That part, not into mine, but yes, that part, yes.
Well, listen, thank you for that. Seriously now, that's high praise coming from you, because you are such a gifted author and writer. So, So I'll be on your show soon. What, December maybe?
Actually, I would like to keep that a little bit of a secret for just a moment, because if it's okay with you, want to drop that scoop we kind of talked about, which kind of will explain that. It's up to you. Oh, good to go. Was I activated? But I am very, very happy. Man, I want to give back to you for that first interview for some time. And it started with the idea of, okay, just interview him. He read your book, you read his book, you review him. But the more I was looking at you and everything you were doing, and it was just natural that as I was concluding, the publication of From a Black Perspective, the Homeland, we always do a streaming event some months later, which we title a virtual reading and release event. This time around, though, we're just going to go with the very cool name of Homecoming. So in February, I'll get the exact date later because I meant to check it before I got on here and I don't want to drop the wrong one. But in February of 2025, people, you are going to be treated to the talent of only one half, but still a big half of our star-studded guest co-host team.
Who is it?
None other than Mr. Let me tell you something himself, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Sir, when you said yes, you would do it. Oh, I'm set. I'm ready.
Well, let me do this. Let me tell you something. Thank you.
But as a result of that, I'm looking at what will, do the most for what you're doing in the sense of building the anticipation, but also introducing you slowly, gradually, but star-studdedly to my following. And so for those reasons, I was like, I don't want to tell them when the interview's going to drop yet. Y'all just need to know that I'm already reading the book. I've already sent him some bomb interview questions because, look, I'll put it this way. The book, the page count is 242. I'm on page 50 or something. I have 5 to 6 pages of notes.
Oh, my God.
And I have to cut that down into a written review.
Oh, my God.
That down into us having a 30, 45-minute interview. And mind you, it's not all questions for you. Now, a lot of the questions come out of that content, but it's just, brother, you can write. I don't, it always kind of turns into a lot of pages in comparison to what people see or hear in the interviews. But I wasn't expecting to get that far into the book. And yeah, this review is going to be dope. This review is going to be dope. This interview is going to be awesome. It won't be very intrusive or anything like that. Going to keep it clean and respectful. But it's a great book. You're a great author. The idea of getting to work with you to contribute to your career in any small fashion, it's huge for me. It's huge for me. It's one of the things that makes all of this worth it, whether the money is coming in or not. So please know that. Please know that.
Eddie, I really appreciate you saying that in all seriousness. But as Michael Jackson would have said, Tito, give me a tissue. Oh, give me a tissue, Tito. Such kind words. Oh, Tito. But Tito, you're not with us anymore, are you, Tito? Oh, Tito. Okay. You're with me now, Tito. You're with me.
And this is why you forget those folks. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. We're going to have a great time. We had a good time in the past. Trust me, we had a good time in the past. But this is going to be everything.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but oh well, whatever. It's too late now. Okay.
You can edit it out later.
No, I'm going to keep it in.
Out there, keep it in. That's all I was going to say. It'd be funny if they heard me say that. But anyway, carry on. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, my brother. Okay, I want to pivot back to the new from a Black perspective, the Homeland. What are some reader takeaways, Eddie?
Oh, wow. Wait, actually, let me clarify to make sure I'm even answering the right question. Things we hope that they take away, or things that, because aside from some select reviewers whose reviews will drop soon, readers, so to speak, haven't read it. So I wasn't sure which way you were going with the question.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what you hope they take away after reading it?
Of course, in a nutshell, come away educated, come away inspired, come away entertained, come away with the knowledge for those of us who I describe as sun-kissed or melanin blessed. Come away with another testimony of our greatness, of what any one of us can do if we put our minds to it, especially if we work together. If we spend more time on our commonalities and celebrating our differences, much like our ancestors did, there's nothing we can't do. We can build the pyramids if we choose. I just want them to come away with that fire, especially in light of this most recent situation that I'm going to leave there. Just ignite it. Heads lifted up. People walking in pride and knowing who they are. And then from there, I hope that anyone outside of that community is looking in, sees the variety, reflects on their own community and say, you know what, this is just as diverse as my situation. So no one of them could possibly represent all of African American, all the African diaspora. They are just as varied as we are, and we need to approach them in that manner. Can't lump us all together. We are not a monolith. We're not.
Well said. First of all, before we leave, I have to say, man, that I really respect what you do. I mean, James Brown was the hardest working man in music, right? But listen, but goddamn, you are the hardest working brother in lit, in LGBTQ plus lit. I mean, good golly, Ms. Molly.
Well, thank you.
My question is this: seriously now, how do you keep engaged and motivated?
It's something, honestly, I think people identify for me. Before I noticed it, I've always been praised for the fact that my art and my spiritual life are very much entwined. There is no separation. Okay. The ideas, I love to say, the best ones, the ones that stick and get some momentum, come straight down or from inside out. But it's knowing my purpose. It's knowing not even just my purpose. I think ideally we're all getting better with that as a collective, learning to at least try to identify it, but also knowing the detriment to oneself when you don't follow your purpose. Imagine a hammer that doesn't hammer. Imagine those muscles in your body that you don't use and they atrophy. Imagine those parts of your brain that you don't engage and then they go dead. when I'm not operating in my gift, even though I have to do better about not even being in my head the hardest working, but working smarter and remember to take my breaks. But in that downtime, and some of that is not old school, but still some levels of depression. It's always in me in those moments. You'll feel better when you finally go back and write something. You'll feel better when you go back and write something. You'll feel better when now being older, when you go and create something. Because I see now that the definition for me especially has to be expanded. Even the idea of novelist and writer, no, storyteller. Because I like to do it with videos. I like to do it with music videos. I love to do it with TikToks. I love to do it in captions. I like to do that in verbal situations or what have you. So when I'm not operating in that, it's just as bad as me neglecting my physical needs.
Yeah,
and so I have to reengage. And then thankfully, things like this anthology, I've heard people say it, and you can probably relate to this, that being a writer is one of the loneliest professions in the world, because not even so much that some people are like me where I don't want to co-write with nobody. It's just never been a good experience. But the idea of working with others and being connected to others, being accountable to others, this most recent spell of having to like leave everything alone. But what about Senya? You have her piece. What about Ken? You have his piece. Owen, decided against whatever and said, hey, I want to join it. I have a responsibility to these people now. I have a responsibility. And by God, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go do it. And so it's wonderful that all of this is kind of born out of wanting that sense of community, that won't even say artist, but creative professional community. It also turns back on me, much like a family, much like your family does. That ideally is accountability to each other. We ideally take care of ourselves so that we're in a position to help take care of the next one, or so that it's not so hard on everybody else. But being in this community, it keeps me charged up. I'm having conversations and relationships with people like you that, remind me on those days when I don't feel like what I'm doing amounts to a drop in a bucket, that, bro, this is amazing. You and these Smurfs running all over the place, having a thing. So those things help me stay connected. God, other people, that keeps me connected and engaged.
I like that. Mr. Pierce Jr., how can us grown folks connect with you and follow you? Give us your social media.
So anything with my name, anything with my name, if you search it, I should pop up. If you don't see this brown face, keep it moving. If you, and it's worth noting that my father, I'm a junior. My father and I look quite a bit alike.
Wow.
So look for the junior, look for anything that involves writing. You got me. If you're searching under those names, Eddie Saran Pierce, some of my stuff is just Saran. I just changed it this week. But the simplest thing, well, next to Google, because man, wow, when I Google Rainbow Room Publishing and all that, it pops right up. I get Google alerts every night. But Rainbow Room Publishing, www.rainbowroompublishing.com. You get there, you can go from there. As of the time this interview drops, especially anywhere, but the website as it even stands to this day, that's where all the writing is located. The YouTube videos are there. The bio is there. The books are all there. The services are all there. Everything is on that website. The thing that I need to do most recently is add a cute little link tree so that if you want to reach me for social media, you can click in there too.
Got it. Now, how can we grab our copies of the new From a Black Perspective, the Homeland, as well as The Blood and the People?
So first and foremost, I love to say this all the time. All of the featured authors are selling the book, and we all have separate streams of income. So I always advise that you reach out to the favorite author that you see and reach out to them. Now, some of them have copies, some of them, we all have it listed on Amazon under our respective names. So if nothing else, some of us can just give you a link to Amazon. And at the very least, even if you're not buying directly from us, we get a couple of pieces of change. In the case of myself, I always advocate come directly to the website. It's worth noting that the prices on Amazon are higher than mine. My prices always include shipping, and it beats the price of Amazon prior to you paying shipping. And you don't get an autograph. You go in that direction
I was going to
unless you come and find me. So if you buy directly from me, that's when you're going to get that personalized love infinitely Eddie Saran Pierce and whatever beautiful personalized message goes with that.
I was going to ask you about the whole autograph deal. Good. Okay, y'all, get it from him. Get it from Eddie. That's what you do. Okay. Mr. Eddie S. Pierce Jr., I want to thank you so much for stopping by. Wyatt, you know you got an open invitation to come back anytime you want.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to returning that favor and being able to say that door is always open after we open it for the first time.
I appreciate you.
Same here. Same here. Iron sharpens iron, brother.
You got it.
We make each other better.
Yeah. So y'all, there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page at WyattEvans.com, the go-to destination for LGBTQ plus news, features, commentary, and entertainment. WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. All I can say to that is, hey, baby. And at WyattEvans.com, you'll find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And as you just saw on the top, the newest installment is called Shattered. I said Shattered. And y'all, Shattered is full of action, danger, intrigue, sexually charged situations, passion, and all of the wonderful elements that you're used to in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. So get your new copy of Shattered. Now you can follow me, your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, all across social media, and poof, is right there for you to peruse, like TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any comments or whatever, you can hit me up at wyattonair@gmail.com. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. I said woof.